Welcome to Client Convos. This is just something that I'm going to do once in a while where I sit down with one of my video clients and simply have a conversation about collaboration and our working relationship, giving you an inside look on the filmmaking process. My first guest is a musician based in Southern California who I worked with on a music video. Give it up for my friend Charles Grace. What's up, Charles?
It's going, man.
Thanks for being a part of this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So why don't we start with, like a brief background, what you've been up to the past few years.
Sure. I've spent the last 2 years back here in California writing songs and ultimately preparing this album, which is called The Wreckage. So I moved back to California in 2018 and wrote a batch of songs and got in the studio with some producers named Sean and Matt, the Sonic Writers. Mm-hmm. We spent all of 2019 recording what would become this full-length record, and just with all the craziness that's going on, just getting around to finally deciding that there was no right time. There's only right now. So
yeah. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. You've definitely come a long way. Today is, let's see, what was the date?
June 15th.
It's actually 1 year exactly from the day that we met, right?
Yeah.
We met through Sylvia Bosco. And we're doing a video of you guys at the Lid and Mo studio in Pasadena, and that's where we met. And we did that video, and that was a cool experience. You guys are all very talented, and become cool friends of mine. And it kind of comes full circle as we were working on this music video now. Now it's ready to release. The whole process didn't take a whole year, but I think do you remember when you actually approached me for the music video?
I think initially you had approached me with the idea because you were looking to build a portfolio. So
yeah.
You asked if I had any songs that I thought would be fitting for a music video, and
yeah, that's right. That is how
I think because we'd already been talking and we'd already been exchanging text messages and emails about the live video that you filmed for us back in Pasadena. So I think we were just in communication with that, and then you said, hey, like, I'm trying to build my portfolio more specifically with like storytelling type music videos as opposed to live sessions. You want to kind of diversify your portfolio. So
right.
I said, well, yeah, that'd be great. I sent you 2 tracks from the record when you told me to pick a couple of songs that I thought would be cool for music video, and then I sent you 2 that I thought would work, and you chose the one that I didn't think you would pick. So, and then now it's the title of the record. So yeah. I thought you would choose, I knew you were a big, heavy metal fan. Not to put you in a box, but
yeah.
I knew you listened to a lot of heavy music. You were in a metal band, so I sent you like. By no means do I have any metal tracks on the record, but I sent you like the heaviest track on the record, thinking that you'd pick that one. Yeah. And you picked the least heavy track on there, so
yeah.
So it was cool. It kind of caught me by surprise. So
yeah, I remember that because I liked both songs. Both songs.
Different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, it really was, because you listen to Quell, and it's like that song is like just like a fusion of, like, you could tell that you really wanted to kind of, add different vibes into the song. It has like some of the rock stuff. It has, it has a very progressive song, and it was a awesome song. Could definitely become a cool music video. And then there was The Wreckage, and listening to that, like, as a filmmaker, I really gravitate towards like emotion and storytelling, and I felt just like I guess like some sort of stronger creative connection with the wreckage, listening to it. It's a very emotional song, and it has a lot of somber vibes, and I just felt like we could create something with a lot of meaning, and that's really why I picked that song, to do the music video for. Once you had okayed, all right, we'll do that for that video. So then I just got the lyrics. I got the, I think I asked you to like give me a brief, a paragraph of like what the song means to you, and how you see it, what your perspective is, maybe a little background, and then just the lyrics. And then I would just listen to the song like 20 times a day, literally. Like,
I'm surprised you're not sick of it by now.
no, dude, I'm definitely not sick of it. It's an awesome song. At this point, I've heard it like, I don't even know.
Too many times.
Yeah, but I'm not even like sick of it. Like I'll listen to it. I guess that was sort of my process. Is I had the like materials, with the lyrics and what the song means to you, and I just, because I used to work at this office in Alhambra, and I lived in Downey at the time, and so I had that commute. So like on the way to work, I'd be listening to the song. I'd be at work, I'd have my earphones, and I would just be listening to it and like making some notes on like some visuals and some like what kind of story we could tell, and I would go for walks on like my break, and same thing, just going for a walk and just listening to the song and just trying to get inspired. And I would just think, and what would be like cool visuals, what would be a cool story, like what could the camera movements be, and like what type of colors could come out in the video. And something started to build, and then I just kind of sat down and I typed up like my vision for what this video could be, and I did like a whole like full-on screenplay for the video, and like it came out pretty cool. It was some pretty cool ideas, and I guess you liked them. Then we just started like planning the shooting days, and then what's going to go into the video. The original version had like more layers to it, though. Like it had you got the performance, you got all the performance shots of you singing and performing the song, and then there's the story layer where it was originally going to be in black and white, and because I wanted to add like some contrast to the video, and then within that story there was going to be flashbacks with this character, and that was kind of what I had originally came up with. But once we actually filmed everything and I edited the first cut, like we loved it, but we kind of felt like, especially you kind of felt like we could kind of change things up. Do you remember your thought process of that?
Yeah, no, I remember being really just impressed with the visuals, and I liked the initial ideas. I guess I just kind of arrived at a point where I thought that the conceptualization or the storytelling could be simpler and more fitting for the song. Like I was trying to think to myself, like sometimes I get really in my own head and I conceptualize things, and this is like an issue that I think a lot of creative people have, is like you have ideas in your head that's like you think are great, and I think sometimes as a creative person I have a tendency to think that everybody will make the same connections that I was able to make, and that's
right.
Not always the case. Like sometimes it's just for you, and it's like you're kind of playing like circle jerk, or you're just kind of doing it for like mental gymnastic for yourself, right? Or it's like,
right,
is this really, does this move things along? Does this really support the song? Does this tell the story that we want to tell? And
right.
I guess I just kind of felt that while there were so many valuable things in the initial cut, I just feel like we needed to kind of trim the fat and simplify it, and that just meant removing a lot of the metaphor and the
right,
I guess the conceptualization, and just presenting what it was. This is a song written out of despair, out of depression, out of anxiety, out of a desperate cry for hope. And that's just, it doesn't need to be any more than that. And that's what it needed to say. And, venture to say, I think we accomplished that. I think it just, panned out.
Yeah, and I agree. Like when I'm working with, a client, an artist, doing a video for somebody, at the end of the day, it's their video. It's not my video. I mean, in a sense, it's my video, but it's, I'm getting hired to bring their vision to life.
Right, to represent that person.
Right. So I try to be, a good listener about, are we on the same page? Do you have any ideas? Do you have any feedback? Mm-hmm. Do you have any constructive criticism? Like anything. And, when after we watched the first cut and then we kind of just like talked about it, I really was just listening and like really agreeing with you. Like, yeah, we could definitely refine this, and have it still be a solid, music video where there is still a story and there is ambiguity and maybe someone will watch it and kind of have their own interpretation about what they're watching, because like you have an interpretation, I have something that I was trying to say, and so it could vary from person to person,
Right. I think that's important too, right? Like leaving the beauty in simplifying the storytelling leaves room for people to then engage or enter into the story themselves. Yeah. I think that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is it kind of opens up the possibility or opens up that door. Like, okay, yeah, like I don't. If somebody asks me, I don't mind telling what inspired the song or the time in my life, or I don't mind giving those details. But right. If they don't ask, then I'm completely comfortable kind of just having created that space where they can listen and then draw their own conclusion. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
And I am too, because aside from like music videos and the different types of other videos that I do for a living, I do, like I write for short films. I've done a few short films, and I'm working on like various scripts, and like I've always been a fan of ambiguity, and I feel like it kind of leaves room for the audience to kind of have their own experience and not so much just like give it all to them, like this is what it is, this is what this stands for, this is what this means, like let it be your own experience, so that way once it's done you could just have your own thoughts, and maybe there's no even wrong answer to how a person sees something. And not that there's anything wrong with videos or stories that just kind of give everything to you, like that's fine, but for me as an artist, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, I guess I just like to do that kind of storytelling. And I don't know, I'm just very satisfied with how this music video came out, because it has everything that I've always wanted to do when it comes to like story, cinematography, like editing, because I did the camera work, I directed everything, and I edited the video myself, and it was a cool journey for me to kind of go through the planning, and this is really the first music video that I actually did that much planning. Before, with other music videos, I would just talk to the band, like, okay, do you guys have an idea of like what you want? And they would give me like the gist of what they want, and then I would throw in some of my ideas, and then we just show up on day one, and I just start rolling, and I would just tell them, okay, we'll start with the guitar player, and we'll do some close-ups, and we'll do some wides, and we'll get wides of everybody, and then we'll start to do some focus shots and solo shots, and then we'll like go around the street and we'll film you singing in like the alley or something, and just like very run and gun, like improvising, and just shooting as much as I could, different angles, different stuff, and then I would get to the editing room, and then I would just kind of see what I could put together with all of that footage. And that is like, it's okay to work that way, but I wanted to have a more professional process, and I wanted to have a more defined way of working. And time is a big thing, like our time is extremely valuable.
Yeah.
And we want to be as sufficient but as productive as we could. So I'm always learning. I'm always trying to be a better filmmaker, better storyteller, better just videographer. So I realized I got to do more planning, like just for time. Plus, like, when you have like so much footage to like go through, and you probably end up using like 2% of it, it's kind of not as necessary anymore to just like film so much. And I feel like that was kind of something that I had to learn and teach myself, what do I really need to like film, and like, am I just because there is like B-roll stuff, like it's a good thing that we film some B-roll, because when we were re-editing the video,
Came in handy.
it definitely came in handy, because there was something to replace like what was taken out.
Right. It didn't feel that we were just taking something out and then it was lacking.
Yeah, and then we gotta like reshoot, or like do more stuff, like
Took out some initial scenes, and then
yeah.
we had some other footage that didn't distract. It didn't take away. It just enhanced or supported what we were already doing. So it just felt like the right piece to fit in that, in that, like, it was the square peg in the square hole. I was like, there you go. Like, we found it.
Yeah. Yeah, and with this one, everything just flowed so smoothly. Like, we planned everything, we scheduled the days, we went to shooting, and everything went pretty well, And then when I was editing, I had just the perfect amount of footage. Like, I had enough takes of stuff, I had enough B-roll, and
I feel like it's worth mentioning that Tavia, who is the other vocalist on this song, she had a lot of really helpful tips and just direction. She had some experience with music videos in the past, and I had done like live performance video, like professional type videos, but I'd never really done a storytelling, like draft script, stuff like that. So she had a little bit more experience with those, and I just wanted to point that out, that she was very helpful for somebody who was very uncomfortable, and it wasn't really my default setting. So she provided a lot of levity for what would otherwise be a very heavy song. So
yeah,
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, she definitely was a big help. As a director, I always kind of look out for that. I'm not like, at least I don't think I'm like a controlling director or anything like that, because you never know where a good idea is going to come from. It could come from the cinematographer. It could come from the
guest vocalist, yeah.
Yeah, it could come from like, the guy doing like the lighting, or like the gaffer in the back, or like the production assistant.
Just kind of having your ears out.
Yeah, and sometimes I get to a point where I'm just like not 100% on a decision, and I'm like, well, what do you guys think? And then someone might come up with something, and I'll be like,
it's almost like the reset button in your head. Like, okay, I've been reshooting this part like 8 times now. Let me reset. Hey, what do you think? And then you're like, okay, come back.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, whether you're doing a music video, making a movie, doing an album, like,
they talk about giving your eyes and your ears a rest from, if you're staring at a screen or listening to the same mix. A lot of seasoned producers or videographers would tell you, like, it's actually recommended that you give your eyes and or your ears a rest, a break, physically get up from whatever chair you're sitting in or walk away from, and then come back. Yeah, because it's something about that reset. Yeah, just has great benefits for whatever project you're working on.
Yeah. So has this like winding down of the economy, and like just kind of being like stay at home, have you felt like this has kind of been a time to like recharge from like live shows and live performances, whether it's unintentional or
I I just feel like I've, like, maybe like a lot of people, I've kind of run the gamut of emotions on just what we're all experiencing.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I'm just coming around to valuing what I feel like I personally am supposed to learn through this time. Just kind of coming around to seeing like the while this is not a sexy time, it may not be super exciting. I'm just starting to kind of see the end of the tunnel in respects of like understanding a little bit more what I am supposed to be learning from all of this. So a lot of that for me is just learning how to be with myself.
Right.
I know that sounds kind of interesting, but like maybe not interesting, but just kind of peculiar. I don't know. But through this time, like right before the quarantine started, and then through this entire time, I was actually reading a book called The Relational Soul, and it was, and what made it so much more valuable is this is like a lot of like spiritual disciplines and faith practices and psychology and just soul care. I mean, this is like not light feathery stuff, This is like really like, it's just like it's like diving deep into the heart. So normally that would be like that might be just kind of volatile or tumultuous. It might be very unpredictable. Right. But what made it helpful, what made it more beneficial, was that I was reading this through with a group of people. Like we were all reading and then coming together on Zoom, like a lot of people are doing right now. We were reading this book kind of cohesively, and then, or I should say, we were coinciding. But we were reading this book together, and we would come together on Zoom and talk about it. Mm-hmm. And just hearing, it's one thing to like draw your own conclusions and reflect on something you're reading, mm-hmm. but then to like have maybe 12 other people who are reading the book too share their perspective or offer their mm-hmm. experience in the midst of everybody having Zoom fatigue and feeling lonely and only seeing their coworkers if they're still working, So I think that really helped me through this time, just to kind of really reflect and recharge, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Normally, something like this could have sent me back into my headspace when I wrote the song.
Right.
Like a lot of like, I've shared this with you. I have a history, just dealing with depression and loneliness and anxiety and family of origin. All that good stuff that some people go through. So I think normally going through this situation where like now isolation and social distancing is, the thing that's in place, normally I think that would have put me in a much more dangerous place for me personally. Mm-hmm. But because I was reading through this book and doing it with a community, albeit not physically, but still having that engagement, that interaction, socialization, even through technology, that absolutely kept me from going all the way back to where I was when I wrote the tune, right? We talked about this, like the song's really morphed for me since I wrote it a few years ago. This isn't the last song I wrote before I left South Carolina. So I was raised in South Carolina, and I moved back out here to California. I drove all the way across country in 2018. So while I was born in Anaheim, I was raised in the South, and then came back here. So the last thing I wrote before I left South Carolina was the Wreckage, and in a lot of ways I thought it would be just the last song I ever wrote. I know that it sounds super dramatic and fatalistic, but I was in such a headspace that right after I wrote the Wreckage, I stopped writing in my journal, even just free writing. I stopped free writing. I stopped writing songs. I stopped playing music. I canceled any gig that I had on the calendar for the rest of that year in 2017. I just kind of isolated myself. I went to work and I was just like a zombie. I almost got fired from my job just for like how I was behaving. Not because they were trying to be mean, but just they were like, dude, you can't be here. Like you can't be here like this.
Yeah.
So like, it was scary. I remember being at a point where like I passed out in the back of my job.
Oh, jeez.
I was going, there was a period of time where I wasn't eating regularly. Like sometimes I would go like 24 hours without eating. I lost
Wow.
20 pounds without trying. I wasn't actively trying to lose weight. I just did.
Yeah.
I went down to like below, I think I was down to like 149 or something like that.
Wow.
But it's just all, I don't mean to, that's not really the point, but just to say that the importance of this experience, you're talking about recharging. When I saw this pandemic growing, I was very concerned. Like selfishly, I was concerned for myself because I've experienced things before where it's like, okay, I need to actively pursue community and friendship and being around people, and now that looks different, right. And people aren't able to do that for health reasons. So it's like, right. Okay, how am I gonna get in front of this, right, to prevent myself from getting back there? So right. Anyway, a little long-winded, but that's where that's kind of where my headspace has been. It's just been a lot of soul care and heart work, yeah. And just really consciously choosing to see this time as I don't know, there's like no not corny word to use, but just choosing to see this as like a time of some people are saying reawakening, or just choosing to see this time as like what we can learn as opposed to what's been taken from us. Right. What have we been given, I think, is kind of where what are we learning? What have we been given? What are we benefiting from this time? Like that's kind of where I've been chasing after. Like, okay, instead of saying like what's missing or what's not like it used to be or what's not normal, I'm trying to see like, okay, well what's the new normal, and what's how am I going to actively engage with that and get in front of it, and what's that going to look like for live gigs. I thought about that too, right? I know we're out here in Southern California, man. There's no shortage of music venues that are in difficult spots, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Long-time venues in LA, that have been around for 60 plus years that are honestly saying, hey, I think we might have to close our doors if this continues. And it's like, so it's reality. Just trying to be creative and think about like, okay, what is it going to look like to be a creative person in a public setting after this?
So I remember you telling me how this like whole experience has kind of changed your relationship with the song, and I think you talked about that a little bit, but like correct me if I'm wrong. I think I remember you saying that like when you first wrote the song, it was more, and like even like the few years, even the time going forward after that, it was more of a personal song. Like you couldn't even really see yourself playing it live or anything like that. But I think you said like now you kind of feel like that could be a possibility. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, it was just one of those like heart cries that, I mean, well, I distinctly remember writing that one at my desk, and then immediately, and I've never done this before or after, come to think of it, but at this moment I wrote the song and I started just weeping as soon as I finished writing the first draft. And I just crying uncontrollably, and my head just hit the desk. I was just like, and I just really, man, I don't know, just the whole experience writing that one just kind of, no pun intended, but just wrecked me, I don't know, it just made me feel some type of way, and it just felt like it came from a place that I hadn't fully acknowledged up to that point, and again, I thought that would be the last thing I wrote. I didn't expect to perform not just that song, but I didn't anticipate me playing again, period. Yeah. So I think there was like a sense of finality when I wrote it, like, okay, well, hope it was good, 'cause that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of just wrote it off that way, and then it wasn't until I moved to California and I attended a songwriting retreat up in Northern California, and like one of the first days I came back from the retreat, I wrote another song. That was like the first thing I had written, or kind of sparked that kind of creativity. First time in maybe 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
So it felt like, I just don't know how to do this, So yeah, and then just, it's interesting, like traveling with songs. It's like, you're putting them in your creative suitcase and taking them. For me, like, I had a few of these songs on this album written. I had maybe 3 of them written before I came out here. Wreckage was one of them.
Right.
So it's interesting traveling with that, knowing where I was when I wrote it, knowing where I am now.
Yeah.
It's like literally like that song has miles on it. We use that term figuratively in music. We say it's got some stage life, or it's got some miles on it, which typically we use that expression when we've been living with it for a while. Mm-hmm. It's a part of us. It's been, we've recorded it, or we've performed it at a lot of open mic nights or showcases or whatever have you. In this case, it quite literally had like miles on it. I wrote it on the East Coast in South Carolina, and then it came with me and recorded it out here in Southern California. So
Yeah.
the physical miles, and then just the life miles. I mean, I've been living with this song and performing it here and there for maybe small crowds of other songwriters, because somehow that's the only space that I felt safe doing it. I was like, well,
Yeah.
if they judge me, it's going to be like valuable feedback, but I don't know if I'm ready to perform this in front of just regular people, like not, it's like, and then, come to find out, one of the first times I performed it in front of a crowd that wasn't songwriters, or maybe it was. I think what changed for me. You're talking about morphing. I attended it was just like a private kind of showcase. It wasn't a paid gig or anything like that, but it was basically like a focused kind of showcase / dinner party where it was songwriters were invited, and there was food, and then we would each perform for one another. It was just kind of a safe place to show off what you got, new, old, whatever, something you're half done with. But
Right.
at this point, I've been in Southern California now for a couple months, and this was in Manhattan Beach, beautiful home. And I decided to play the Wreckage. This time I hadn't even started recording the album at this point. It was still kind of new. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing that song, and I remember there being just this thickness in the room. And I don't mean to. It's not to say that I can take all the credit for that, but just the attentiveness and the connection and the awareness of everybody that was in the room of what was happening was very special, and I won't forget it. And I think that's what started to slowly change my mind and be like, okay, maybe I don't have to keep this to myself, because I remember somebody saying after I performed that, actually it was somebody who was in the music video, so this is good. I remember my friend Katja saying, she just came up to me and gave me a hug, and she said, I felt that, and I just want to thank you for sharing that. I can tell that wasn't easy, and I'm really glad that you shared that with us. And I was just like, whoa. It's just, for somebody to tell, like for anybody to take the time to come up to anybody to go out of their way to pay you any kind of compliment. Yeah. The only appropriate response is thank you, right? Yeah. Like anybody that take the time to do that, I'm just so thankful. But to hear, there's something different about hearing it from a peer. She was also a songwriter, and she knows, she's been through stuff too, so hearing that from a peer, a fellow songwriter like that, was like, it's very meaningful, and it kind of started to change my tune a little bit. And then I would start to play it for more people, and I sent it to you, and again, I sent it to you like expecting you not to choose it. So it was like, even up to the very moment that I was sending it to you, I'm like, well, he's not going to choose this one. I'll just send him. So I thought I was presenting you with like a very clear, well, I'm going to give you A and B, but I'm never going to choose A. And you're like, actually B. And I'm like, okay, well, dang, like I just didn't like I sent it to you expecting you not to choose it. So even up to the very moment, there's always been this hesitation or this nervousness about how it would be received, and I've been pleasantly surprised just in the live settings and then in collaborating with this music video, like, and then Raven, who's your assistant, right, video production assistant, right? So, you know, and Raven's, you know, about a decade younger than me, and that was really eye-opening to me to hear somebody like him who, again, like I kind of put you in a, like, I know that you really favor like heavy music, and then I know that Raven really favors like a lot of pop and R&B and hip hop, and I've just been constantly surprised by people who, and I tell people not to do, like I tell myself not to do this all the time, like don't put people in a box, and then here I catch myself doing it. I'm like, well, hey, don't put people in a box. You know, here I was like, yeah, my friend Anthony likes metal, but he also appreciates this. My friend Raven, who's and I don't mind saying that, you guys both became my friends in this process. Yeah. You know, it's just interesting. I wouldn't expect, like, here, you know, you're a little bit closer to my age. You like really heavy music. Raven's about a decade younger than me. Yeah. And, you know, he likes a lot of hip hop and pop music, and there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. I just never expected these two guys or this woman to say, like, like, just everybody, like, I think the different angles everybody was coming at.
Different walks of life.
Yeah, different walks of life, different age, different preferences musically and otherwise. Like, just that really opened my eyes to, and kind of like made me get out of my own way and be like, okay, Charles, just let the song be what it is, and just be okay with what it's potentially doing for somebody else. Just be okay with it, and don't assume. My dad would tell me this often. I have this unique ability to think for other people, which is usually not a good thing, right? You know, like, I'm a big X-Men fan, like, and you know, people had that conversation about, like, which superpower would you want? I feel like, I tell you the one I think I would, if I was born a mutant, the one I think I would have been born with, but I would hate, is the one that Professor X and Jean Grey had, right? So if you're familiar with X-Men, they had this ability to literally read people's minds, right, so they can kind of think for them if they so choose. Right. So I had this unique ability to do that, right? But I've been challenged in a good way to say, like, hey, pull that back a little bit and just allow people to respond. So.
Right. So by the end of this whole project, how did you feel about the song?
Yeah, like I mentioned it earlier, I think just having you and Raven from the video production side of things and the storytelling, and then having Tavia be a part of it, quite literally contributing to the vocals on the record, and then her contributing to the storytelling in the video. I never ever thought I would use the word levity with this song, because it always had a heaviness. It was always a lot for me to carry. It didn't feel like so much to carry, and I didn't feel like I was carrying it by myself anymore, which was really like a relief. I was like, oh. Like, in a word, this whole process for me has just been a giant exhale. Giant exhale. I just feel like I've been able to, like, release it, really release it, because it was like a lot to carry for a couple years across a lot of states. So really, in a word, it's just a relief after this. And I don't mean that as like I'm, you know, good riddance. I don't mean it in that way. I mean it like, it feels like such a wonderful thing to be able to share it and to hold it with other people and to say, like, yeah, and to let other people hold the ball. You know, just say, hey, yeah, here, you hold it. What do you think? What are you feeling? Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I wouldn't have guessed that. I wouldn't have guessed that you would have liked it. Wow. Yeah. You know, it's nice to share. Nice to share that. Mm-hmm. So it no longer feels like I'm holding it by myself.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So what I also wanted to do was just kind of like just watch the music video together. Yeah. And we could kind of just do a commentary if we want to, like. Yeah.
There's nothing I love more than watching myself.
Yeah, I mean, like if I want to add on something.
Sure.
Pause it.
No, you're good.
If you want me to pause it, just let me know.
opening shot here is in my absolute favorite park in Fullerton.
Yeah, that pier scene sequence right there was actually filmed on the last day. But it's like a part that goes in the beginning of the video. And in that wide shot, when the camera is like tracking up behind you, you could actually see the lighthouse.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes full circle because that comes back in the end of the video.
Enter Tavia, the guest vocalist. Yeah, this park, like, I literally, during this quarantine, I think I've literally walked like my own path in that park. I've been there so many times. I go there every day and walk, or I ride my bike up there almost every day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat, kind of a cool memory.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember this shot being so difficult to get because we were losing sun, and I wanted some sun flares, and it was just very soft lighting, and it looked really good. But I think we moved like 2 or 3 times on that hill to get like the right like.
And I remember we were both walking uphill. You were walking backward, and I had to look at the camera and try not to trip.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't even. It was uphill and it was uneven soil, so I was, a couple times we had to redo those takes because I kept kind of stepping in a pothole or something,
Yeah. Yeah, Raven had to like guide me as I'm like walking backwards.
Yeah. Raven had to play spotter.
It's tough.
And I just had to like look at you, and then just pretend like I wasn't like trampling like a dinosaur on the dirt.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, we had to time the train passing for that one sequence too. That was fun. Came out really good.
Yeah, I really appreciate this is the B-roll footage that we were talking about that we were really glad that we had with Tavia. And then this is a cool moment too because at this point, we're just about halfway through the video and this is the first time you're seeing Tavia and I in the same frame. Up to this point we've kind of all been separated, so
yeah,
kind of a neat turning point, I guess. This would be the beginning of the turning point in the story, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
It's my Breed Love right there, my acoustic guitar. I named my guitar Heart Smile. I bought that guitar 10 years ago.
Wow.
That's been super faithful. I love it. You can't really see it, but if maybe on some of the lighting, but a lot of guitars have pick guards, and that guitar does not. And if you look at it in a certain lighting, you can actually see where it's like it looks kind of shiny and buffed. Where I was strumming on the face of the guitar because it's like where a lot of the right around the bottom of the sound hole.
Yeah.
You can kind of see where a little bit of the shiny wear and tear is.
Yeah. Yeah, all these extras were just our friends.
Well, you're right. So the idea was to kind of have people trickle in, and what ended up happening was that passers-by, people that were just in that area, legitimately stopped and were viewing what was going on. So we kind of got some, I guess some pleasantly surprising extras, like people that weren't a part of the shoot, but they became a part of the shoot because they were curious on what was going on.
Yeah, that really tripped me out.
That was super weird to me too, because there were people after. I mean, we were shooting this. We were doing a couple takes, and we had like my Bluetooth speaker, hidden out of frame, and people were like legitimately applauding the people that weren't a part of our crew or our extras. You know, like I was like, thank you. Like,
Yeah, like this whole thing was filmed at the lighthouse in Long Beach.
Yep.
Across from Shoreline Village.
Which I learned, you know, a movie I just watched. I like had this trippy moment, dude. I was watching Netflix at my house, and I watched that movie Freedom Riders with Hilary Swank, and that movie's based in Long Beach. And there's a scene where they're like up against that pier, and I'm like, oh, or like they're up against a lighthouse. So,
yeah.
And I'm like, I know that.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a great spot for this scene because it's an awesome setting. You see all of the lights in the background. I already knew how it was going to look, and it was going to be perfect. So, we didn't like have a permit or anything.
We're going guerrilla.
Yeah, like total, like just showed up, set everything up. You know, the extras started to trickle in, and we wanted to have a little bit more people, but some people canceled, some people weren't available. So it was just those people, and I was trying to have it be as like low key as possible, but not really losing what we were trying to do. And I didn't want it to be like just like two extras there. That wouldn't have been.
Although that's a reality now.
Yeah. So like we start filming and we start playing, and I'm so focused on like just directing and getting all the shots and like telling people what to do, and like the camera settings, like all these like things that I have to that need my attention, that Raven pointed out to me. He's like, whoa, there's all these like people around, and I was like, huh? And then I like look behind us, and there's like, I don't know, probably like 20 people that were just like gathered, like watching us just like do this thing. I don't know if they, I don't know, I'm sure it occurred to them that, you know, we were doing some sort of video or something, but you know, you could hear the music. We didn't have it that loud, but you could still, if you walk by, you could hear some of the music from the song. You know, because like,
kind of, there's a lot of, the sound waves were kind of echoing off the concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, because, you know, that's, you know, if you don't know how a music video is done, you just like, you play it on a speaker and everyone kind of lip syncs. And I guess that's sort of, you know, plus you have a guitar. So maybe some people were like, oh, is there like some like live music or something? And then I guess that just attracted people, but it just tripped me out because we weren't, you know, it was just not, like, it was totally unplanned for like all these people to show up. And it really serves the whole video, because what I was trying to do with this sequence is, you know, you decide to play and the public just starts to notice you and people start to like come up and watch you. You know, that was basically the role of the extras that we had. And
kind of a busker.
Yeah.
A lonely busker.
Yeah. But naturally, the public that wasn't even associated with the video at all, that we didn't know, complete strangers, just started to do that naturally.
Yeah.
And you see them in the background, and it's kind of crazy. So
I had a little girl come up and ask me if, you know, for my information. She asked if she could find my music, and
yeah,
I had some stickers, you know, for merchandise in my backpack or something, and
yeah.
So that was like, you know, sweet little moment. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, like same here. Some lady was like, whoa, what kind of camera is that? And I was like, oh, it's a Sony. And then she was like, oh, cool. And then I just like continued working. So it was an interesting experience, but we'll continue. Those lights on the ground that
all came with,
that illuminate the lighthouse came out.
That's normally how it is in Long Beach at night in that area. Like, we didn't have those. Those are there.
Yeah, like right there, you see some people in the background that we didn't even know.
And then here, Tavia, I did not know this when we were shooting, but she smiles in that frame, and then I smile in the very last frame. So it's kind of just to tie up the loose ends and acknowledge the interaction between our two characters in that video. So.
Yeah.
Talked with her about that too. It's like what I liked. What I think is interesting about this video too is that you can tell that there's some kind of interaction or communication, or there's some kind of engagement or just non-romantic relationship in that, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like, because you don't often see that portrayed in like any type of videography or filming. So I think that's one thing I really appreciated about the vision that we had collectively, was that we could portray the two of us in this video, and it didn't have to be like this stereotypical like love ballad, because that's not really what it was. I think that would have been something else too. So I think it was really neat to portray the two of us in that way, you know, just to kind of hey, it was just she just provided this really nice contrast to whatever that's what we were talking about. You know, she was her role, apart from being like just, you know, an amazing, beautiful vocalist who absolutely made this song a million times better. Her role was really to be kind of the levity and the smile and the hope when my character was struggling to find those things. You know, she was just really meant to be kind of a confidant and an encouraging presence or a friend in my life. So it was cool. You know, it was cool to be able to portray that and not feel or like pressured or forced to push a romantic angle. I don't know. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really why like seeing both of you smile was like some of the crucial shots.
She also told me to smile, by the way. She also kept. I didn't realize it, but she told me, she was like, "Hey, Charles, look up." she's like, it's a music video. I remember her telling me, it might feel kind of funny and you might feel goofy, but she's like, just, you know, exaggerate a little bit. You know, look up. Just, you know, it's gonna translate better on film. Yeah. She was constantly telling me that, and I'm really glad that she did, because my normal setting is to coil up. So she was just trying to get me to open up for the context of what we were doing. So
she was like the assistant director. In that moment. Again,
I can't stress that enough. She's absolutely just super helpful with getting me not to look like a clam on camera.
It definitely helped a lot, because she was getting it. She knew what we were trying to do, and like I told her all about, you know, what we were trying to do also. So she definitely helped, because like going back to like my role as the videographer and the director, it's like I'm focused on like so many things. It's hard to kind of put a whole lot of energy into directing, you know, someone like you, like the main artist. And so to have her like chime in and kind of rile you up a little bit more, like definitely made the difference. Right. Because like that last shot where we see you just like happy, like you're kind of grounded again, like
that's the resolve.
That's the resolution. Yeah. So that was really important to me, that we capture all those little moments, and then it all comes together in the end, and it really it was like some nice closure in a way. Like, what's next?
Yeah, I would say, just creatively and personally, that's a great way to put it. This has felt like some nice closure, or, you know, at the very least, it's just felt really nice to be able to not feel the same way I did about this song when I wrote it. To be able to kind of graduate to, you know, levity from the heaviness with this has been really helpful. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Releasing the damn thing. We've been sitting with this for a minute. Anthony is a wizard, man. I mean, he's had this video done for a couple months now. The record has been done, you know, for a few months now. I've just kind of, like I said earlier, just a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and I was doing my best to use some temperance and discernment in releasing, and kept kind of waiting for the right time, and you know, just in speaking with a lot of friends that I trust and just getting some nice constructive feedback, just kind of arrived at this conclusion that there's no right time. There's just right now. And right now somebody might need to hear something that I'm withholding for myself. And that's what it is for me. It's like what's next is just releasing this, and not just releasing it like, you know, in a promotional way, but like releasing it from my grip. You know, like I've been clutching this thing for a while now, and I'm ready to really release it. Just not be the only one who's holding it, like we said earlier. You know,
Right.
I'm ready to be not be the only person holding it now, and I'm ready to share.
Yeah.
So I hope, you know, I'd be lying to you. I mean, every artist hopes that their artwork is well received, whatever it's a painting or a poem or an album. So yeah, I hope it's well received. I think more importantly, I want people to really connect with what's happening here, because I think what's happening on this album doesn't necessarily go without speaking to what we're experiencing, you know, as a globe or as a nation. But I think it speaks to a lot of maybe like the deeper heart issues that are kind of contributing to a lot of what we're experiencing. So I think my hope more so is that people wouldn't miss that. That I think there's a lot of stuff that is being talked about on here, but with means of identity and value and worth and a lot of hard work that's been done on this record. So I hope that that's heard and not lost.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, well, very well said. So when could people expect this album?
The release date is Friday, August 7th. It will be available on all streaming platforms. Give a special shout out to Bandcamp, if anybody's aware of that. But yeah, it's certainly going to be available on like Apple Music and Spotify, and encourage people to listen there. But I will have some special kind of exclusive release stuff through Bandcamp. So keep paying attention to all the social media and stuff for that. So Friday, August 7th, and the release date. We'll have some stuff surrounding that. So
great. And where could people find you online?
Yeah, anywhere on the music streaming platforms. It's just my name, Charles Grace. On social media, Facebook and Instagram, it's Charles Grace Music.
Awesome. Well, hey man, thanks so much for doing this. This was a really awesome conversation, and I look forward to working on the next project.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.